You're born in medieval Europe, specifically to a noble family. Even more specifically, to a noble family that already has a perfectly good firstborn son who will inherit the land, title, and maybe even live past 40. So what about you? Well, you get a sword. Eventually. But first, you get a name like Algernon or Folk, and a destiny that sounds impressive, but is just a long, slow march toward joint pain. By the time you're 5, everyone's already telling you what you'll be. A knight. And sure, that sounds cool. Until you realize knight doesn't mean hero, It means full-time stabbing professional with lifelong trauma and seasonal armor rot. At age 7, you're officially shipped off to another noble's castle to become a page, which is medieval code for small, unpaid, but enthusiastic servant. You thought nobility meant lounging in silk? Nah, it means polishing someone else's sword while being yelled at in French. You sleep in a cold stone hallway. You eat bread so hard it doubles as a weapon. Your job is to fetch things, hold things, and not die of dysentery. So basically, you are a 3-foot-tall butler with aspirations. But hey, you're on the right path to knighthood. A glorious life of honor, duty, and bleeding from 5 places all at once. So enjoy the page years. They're the part no one writes songs about. For good reason. You're 14 now, which means your bones hurt and your childhood is officially over. You've been promoted to squire, a word that means still a servant, but now with bruises. It's like a medieval promotion to middle management. Same suffering, but more responsibilities. And now you're technically old enough to die in battle. Congratulations. You've graduated from pouring wine to getting stabbed. Lucky you. After all, it's progress. Your reward? What reward? Your job. Everything. After all, you're now the personal assistant to a full-grown knight. You're the knight's butler, blacksmith, nurse, pack mule, and emotional support page, all rolled into one hormonal disaster with a dented helmet. You wake up before sunrise to muck out the stables, lay out your knight's armor, and prep for the day's training. Training, by the way, is just a long series of ways to get hurt by people stronger than you. Sword drills in the mud until your arms shake. Shield training until your knuckles bleed. Archery practice while your stomach growls because lunch was 3 bites of cold barley and a piece of meat so salty it could involve you. You eat with your hands, drink watered-down ale that may or may not actually contain water, and chew bread that fights back. In the afternoons, you practice mounting and dismounting horses. Yours hates you, obviously. At night, you listen to your knight drone on about chivalry, which apparently includes kicking you awake at 2 a.m. to test your reaction to. You carry gear that weighs more than you do. You sleep in the stables when your knight's had a bad day. Scratch that. You sleep in the stables and smell like everything that sleeps in the stables. You're expected to polish armor till it shines, clean wounds you didn't cause, and be grateful for the opportunity. And if you mess up, public humiliation, or a beating, or both. Once, you mispacked your knight's saddlebag and forgot his ceremonial tabard. You made you wear it for a week straight. You smelled like mold and horse sweat for days, which, in hindsight, was an upgrade from your previous cologne. But you wonder why everyone talks about the glory of knighthood, and no one talks about the 16-year-old squire limping back to the barracks with a black eye and a fractured rib, wondering if honor is supposed to smell like rotting leather and stale piss. But you hold on, because if you just survive long enough, just make it to 21, you might get your own armor, your own squire, your own forced to hate you, which makes a lot of sense since it's likely to die in battle. You're 21 now, and somehow still breathing. That alone should qualify you for sainthood, but instead, you get something even more dangerous. Knighthood. It begins with a ceremony. You fast the night before to purify your soul, or just because no one remembered to feed you. You kneel in a cold chapel while the priest mumbles Latin over your aching body. Then the Lord taps your shoulders with a sword, officially turning you from squire to walking corpse with a title. Now, you're a knight, a man of honor, a symbol of chivalry, and most importantly, a highly mobile, heavily armed meat shield with a price tag. You get a sword, some land, if you're lucky, and your very own warhorse, a terrifying beast named something like Bloodfang or Cabbage. You're expected to uphold the code, protect the leader, serve your lord, and don't die too embarrassingly. The first battle comes fast. You barely sleep the night before. You sit by the fire, arms spread out beside you, chewing hard bread and thinking of all the ways you could die. Your stomach churns. Not with fear. You're used to fear. But from the mutton stew. At dawn, you get dressed, with help from 2 squires. It takes 40 minutes. The breastplate doesn't quite fit. The helmet smells like your old knight's breath. You mount up, say a quick prayer, and join the charge. The battlefield is chaos. Arrows fly, horses scream. The mud is halfway to your knees and twice as warm as it should be. Your sword ham cramps halfway through your second swing. You don't remember most of the fight, just flashes, slamming into something, falling off your horse, nearly choking on your own visor. You stab a man, but not before taking a spear to the thigh. You don't even know his name, huh? You can only hope he was the enemy as you crawl back behind a pile of corpses, where a half-dead priest blesses you with one hand and throws up with the other. After the battle is over, you're celebrated. Your lord calls you brave. Your squire calls you, still bleeding, sir. You spend the night on the ground, your wound packed with moss, eating dried beans and praying you don't get gangrene before breakfast. This is your life now. Respected, yes, but only because you're willing to die for someone else's politics. You're a knight. You're legendary. You're limping, huh? And you're only just getting started. You're in your 30s now, which for a knight is like hitting retirement age. Except instead of a pension, you get gout and a nagging sense of religious dread. Your sword arms? Stiff. Your knees? A Greek tragedy. Your back? Sounds like a bag of rocks every time you get out of bed. But there's no rest. Not when there's another crusade to join, or rebellion to crush, or some duke's nephew who insulted the wrong chicken and now everyone's at war again. The church says you're fighting for salvation. Your lord says you're fighting for glory. But really, you're just fighting to keep your crumbling manor and avoid being taxed into oblivion. Speaking of your manor, it sucks. The roof leaks. The crops died. You're in debt to the local abbot. Your armor's rusted, and your horse limps worse than you do. But you can't quit. After all, knights don't retire. They just slow down, get stabbed more easily, and die sweating in armor that smells like despair and wet dog. At some point, a bard comes through town and asks you for stories of heroism. You lie through your teeth. He writes a song about your gallantry at the Battle of Sludgefield. You remember it as the day you soiled yourself mid-charge and accidentally impaled a friend. But hey, at least the peasants think you're a legend. For now. 15 miserable years pass, and you're now 45, which is roughly 112 in night years. You wake up every morning stiff, bitter, and missing at least one original body part. Your teeth? Gone. Your earring? Depends on the wind. Your warhorse? Replaced by a mule named Gerald who walks like he's seen things. Your armor doesn't fit anymore. Because your belly's grown. Your shoulders haven't moved since Lent. And you have to be hoisted onto your saddle with the help of 2 squires and a prayer. You've stopped fighting for glory. Now you fight for cholera-free drinking water. Then one day, during a local skirmish you shouldn't even be a part of, a 19-year-old farm boy with a crossbow shows up and puts a bolt through your thigh from 30 paces. A wound shot. Doesn't even know your name. You don't die immediately. That'd be too easy. Instead, you get dragged back to your half-rotted manor, where you spend the next week coughing, sweating, and hallucinating about honor while the wound festers. And a monk applies something that smells suspiciously like vinegar and failure. You die in your bed. Not in battle. Not in glory. Just a fever-drenched ex-knight mumbling about horses and God. Your sword? Melted down. Your name? Forgotten. Your manor, claimed by your cousin. Your mule, probably better off. They bury you in a churchyard you weren't holy enough for, next to a fence, under a rock. There's no poem, no statue, just a rusted helmet, and a vague story sung by some drunk bard who insists you killed a dragon once. You didn't. But hey, at least you died with honor. Probably. Maybe. After all, no one bothered to check.